Jade Helm decoded. That's the focus of this edition of Breaking Point on the Next News Network. Local media is reporting that citizens of Big Spring, Texas have seen helicopters and tanks moving into their town. This comes just a month after Thomas Meade spoke to the Big Spring City Council asking for their invitation. And following the 30-minute presentation on Jade Helm, resident Kimberly York had the courage to confront them with some pretty tough comments and questions.
Kimberly York, and I actually am one of the county residents, and I'm a little distressed with the fact, A, the county issued an invitation without letting the citizens know that it's going on in the county.
This morning you'll have a unique opportunity to provide some direct input to the agencies that are responsible for developing a long-range housing and transportation blueprint for our region.
We're at the very early stage, and public input is very critical to this early stage, and it will be to later stages in the process.
And I'm the senior field representative for a group called Greenbelt Alliance, and I manage the East Bay here.
Now here's the problem. The same corporation that's behind that Delphi technique that you're witnessing in the middle of this report is the same corporation, the same think tank that's behind defining mastering the human domain. And it's all about biometric data collection. That's what it's all about. Now, if that's the case, this is it right here. This is the work, and this is the same corporation that is proposing a federal police force that called the Posse Comitatus Act an impediment to what they wanted to realize, which is a Special Operations Command created militarized federal police force. They're talking about using the U.S. Marshals and other organizations to create this quasi-military police organization.
For Greenbelt Alliance.
We came here this morning to get some sense from you of what your thoughts are and what is important to you. Once we get that data, we can start to work on the details.
Somebody that works with us spoke to a public official from that town where the meeting was, and they said that they felt railroaded, like they wouldn't have had a choice no matter what they did. That is exactly this process, and that is what it's designed to do.
We are here today to implement what we had envisioned and what MTC and ABAG had envisioned in terms of complying with AB 32 and SB 375. So until we hear otherwise, that's what we're doing in these meetings, and very much need to get some input to provide for the commissioners and the ABAG board members.
Just this grand scheme, and then to run with it just makes me very nervous. And I moved to this area because I like the big backyards and things like that.
We are only equipped this morning to deal with the priorities that are up on the screen. Those are the priorities we're going to look at this morning.
But your priorities are violating.
Unfortunately, because we have a fairly packed program, we can't be fielding all of the questions that this would be raising. But those kind of questions, those kind of comments are exactly what we want to read about on those.
Question, please. My name is Daniel McClue, and I'm a resident of Bastrop, Texas. I grew up here and got a rich family military history, so thank you for your service. You said the Department of Homeland Security was not involved. However, they are a cabinet position. It's under the jurisdiction of the president, and you are also under the jurisdiction of the president. So under the Bush administration, there's a document created, which is part of a bigger idea, but it was called Right-Wing Extremism, Current Economic and Political Climate Fueling Resurgent and Radicalization and Recruitment. And I won't get too much into that. However, it talks about gun owners, Christians, veterans, people that believe in the Constitution. In fact, when I look around in this room, a lot of people that are represented in this room are in that document. And so it seems to me that it's maybe kind of a slight conflict of interest that the government would be here in Texas in a place where people believe in the Constitution, where there are a lot of Christians, and if you're not a Christian, you're still allowed to practice your religion, and we respect that. And a lot of people that are proud to be gun owners. And so to see a big military buildup here, to me, I think those kind of people that pay attention and look at the documents the government puts out on right-wing extremism under the Bush administration, but we've got a new president that, you know, I'm not going to go any further on that. But, so, I'm curious, and I'm no George Bush fan, but I'm curious. You said that the Department of Homeland Security wasn't directly involved in this. Are you aware of that document, the right-wing extremism?
No, you have to, one, take up the issue that you have with the Department of Homeland Security on that.
Okay.
Two, when you say, hey, we're all in that category, that really does actually template across, I'd say, 90% of the military, regardless of service. And I again have.
So do you find it kind of offensive that the government would potentially label you as a terrorist, sir?
Mr. Clue, that's enough.
Okay, and also, according to Mike over here, he was talking about representation, Mr. Poppy. I voted for you, sir, and I respect you. And the people of Bastrop do not want this.
We have lots of evidence.
Okay.
Worksheets.
There's no reason you can't have 1 to 5.
So please jot that down on your comment form, and we're going to need to go through this as it is. We can't change it right now.
Yeah. If you aren't feeling comfortable with these choices, you don't have to participate in the exercise, certainly.
But we don't have a none of the above. Why is there no none of the above?
I think I explained that we didn't feel like we could change the exercise in the middle of conducting all of these forums. So for better or worse.
I'll answer questions at the end.
Excuse me, can you tell me who Greenbelt Alliance is? Honestly, I've never heard of you guys before.
And I would encourage you all to hold your questions until the end. Thank you so much.
Just give us a 2-second.
I'm going to answer, there'll be time to answer some of these questions at the end.
Just give us a 2-second what the heck you guys do.
Come on, let him go.
I want to know who the guy is.
You guys are bossing the meeting. That's what it is. Just read. Let him go.
Usually oppose all new roads, for example.
Sure. You can find information about Greenbelt Alliance on your program. Thanks. Who's going to lead us into a next exercise to try to get more of your ideas. Thank you.
You were going to answer some questions.
Yeah, I think if you want to go
You said you'd answer questions afterwards.
We gave you the time to talk. We want the questions answered now, sir.
I can't build on that farm?
Is that off topic?
I'm sorry. I'm going to have. I'm
Should be on it? Yes. No, I really don't understand. It's okay.
We can't resolve your individual.
Well, I don't understand. Thank
Okay,
you for
okay.
I just don't know what my party should be even.
Trust the process. There's going to be lots of time for discussion.
More chances.
Okay.
We're too uninformed to vote right now.
Are you a member of the group?
I'm a citizen in this area.
Okay,
It
so
concerns
did you
me
sign
too,
up?
okay?
Okay. Whoa.
Law that says you can't build outside the Bay Area.
You guys just do that so they can use it to like make decisions. They're just asking our opinion.
But you're making assumptions.
No, you're not. You're just giving our feedback.
It says right there, no new computers. How do you do that? This is a free country.
It's a survey.
This is. I'd like to respond to that, but then we're going to just take a couple more comments, and then we're going to.
Down. Please write them down. We have a specific period of time this morning to meet. We're already at the 10:30 point. We would like to get through this. We want to feel this was not designed to field all your questions. It wasn't, and for that I will.
You're asking us to vote on things that we don't agree with.
Then don't vote on them.
Answer based on something we don't agree with.
Then you have the prerogative not to vote on them. But this is.
Doesn't count. Then I don't have a voice. Because the options you're giving
It isn't. I don't think it's the case that you don't have a voice.
You're not giving us a choice to say we don't like any of them.
But you know, we've been working on this for about 6 to 7 months, and we don't have the prerogative at this moment in time of changing this to suit.
6 or 7 months, and you've got a 30,000-foot view, and you want us to vote on something that we don't have. We don't have enough information.
You know, if you feel like this process is not helpful for you, then please write that down on your comment form and tell us what would be. But
Start at 30,000-foot level.
Over the next 25 years, the Bay Area can expect to receive approximately $200 billion in transportation funding alone. By being here and getting involved, you get to choose how that money is spent and how the Bay Area should benefit.
I think that we should have been informed. I feel like it's being hidden from us about, and then all of a sudden an invitation's issued and it's on us. And I'm a little bit concerned about that. I think as citizens we have the right. I also am a hospice nurse. I have a lot of concerns about our elderly population in this county and in this city by things that are going on and being distressed. It may double our phone calls for home healths and hospices because we will be the first persons they call and get distressed. What the press is putting out is really different than what we're seeing here today. The press is telling us, oh, you're not going to hear about it, you're not going to see it, it's just not going to affect your lives. Well, what we're reading here is that it might affect our lives.
Now, welcome to the RAND Corporation, the same corporation that created the Delphi technique, the same corporation that manipulates these meetings so that there's only one outcome, the same corporation that created mastering the human domain, created this 21st century policing model of a stability police force for the United States, a federal police force. And you can see that it is unaffordable, ridiculous, and Nazi-esque, and you'll see why.
And I think as citizens of this county, we should have a voice in whether that invitation is issued. I've got some, like I said, some real concerns. There's safeties for civilians. Why are we looking at safety issues if there's nothing to see here right now? By the way, I am a military brat. I do support the military. I feel that there's other ways of training than inflicting it on the citizens of this county.
Now, she felt the groundwork had already been laid. Then the military contractor simply came in to pitch the invite, as if it was a foregone conclusion. Now, before we get into the meat of the drill, let's talk about the potatoes. The military is enticing the invitations from the communities, stating that this 2-month drill will spur the local economies.
For example, food. If my team says I need 50 pounds of potatoes, I'm not bringing those potatoes from Fort Bragg. I'm not bringing those from North Carolina. My guys will go to the grocery store, they'll purchase 50 pounds of potatoes, and then they will be appropriately put in an item or in a location to be recovered by the training unit. So we're going to buy those things here.
Yes, you heard him correctly. A 50-pound bag of potato. That costs about $10 US at your local Walmart. Now, that was his example. And that, my friends, is the value being placed upon you, opening up your homes, your properties, your businesses, and your streets to this military exercise. Now, this guy certainly doesn't mind as long as his Walmart doesn't close and he doesn't miss the next rerun of How I Met Your Mother.
It's going to boost local economy as well because you're going to have thousands of troops here buying groceries, the military is going to be buying fuel in the area.
Now for the meat of the operation, what should be expected to take place?
What can you expect? Now understand that this slideshow is our standard slideshow that we use to brief the counties and the cities. Within the cities, you won't see most of this, I would tell you. For example, increased aircraft in the area at night. You'll see that out in the rural area. We have a resupply, an aerial drop that will occur, and then some paratroopers as well will jump into Martin County in early August. It won't happen within the city limits. Noise complaints. If my guys are noisy here in the city, they're really doing something wrong, is what I would tell you. That third bullet, conducting suspicious activities. That's where here in the city, we're looking at using the city from an aspect of conducting clandestine meetings within the city limits. There'll be no kinetic activity. There won't be gunfire going on. There won't be things like that. Our footprints within the cities are probably 5 to 6 people at the most when we do these meetings. But one of the most important things, and I know I've said it previously, is we link in with the law enforcement officers. They know when and where we're conducting activity. That way we actually invite the police department to be near the activity. That way they're able to answer constituent calls on that. The other thing that we do is we brief that prior to the activity going on. That way the police chief can let the dispatch know that this is occurring, so that when they field phone calls from concerned citizens, they're able to meet that off or cut that off at the pass.
Yes, you heard him correctly. He said clandestine activities will be taking place. Aircraft at night carrying weapons, and that the local population will certainly be startled. Now this means 911 call centers will be dealing with higher than normal call volumes, forcing the police to interface with the military and then the public, leaving other crimes going, well, not getting the attention that they deserve. He did confirm that they will be carrying weapons, mostly wearing civilian clothing, as well as driving civilian vehicles, and they will not be using explosives.
One of the things that we do as well, they will be carrying weapons, but it won't be live ammunition. It'll all be blank ammunition. Just to correct one thing that was in the newspaper on Sunday that I read was they'll have blank ammunition, but there will not be any explosions. We won't be setting off live demolition out here. The guys will be wearing civilian attire or a mixed uniform. They may be wearing fatigue bottoms and a t-shirt, but that's not normally anything that's out of the ordinary in West Texas from what I've seen, especially during hunting season. And they may be driving civilian vehicles throughout the area. So really, within the city limits, if you notice my guys, they're probably really doing something wrong.
What's curious about the drill is that even though they claim the soldiers will go unnoticed, they intend to have a medic within each unit, as well as fire safety gear, and local law enforcement will be in direct communication with the Department of Defense.
One of the most important things, the number one priority for United States Army Special Operations Command, is the safety of our civilians and the exercise participants. We want to make sure that everybody's safe when it comes to this. Again, daily communication between law enforcement and Department of Defense. Anytime we're conducting activity in your jurisdiction, we will make sure that we coordinate. We have medics. Each Special Forces detachment has 2 Special Forces medics that are trained to a very high trauma level that will be with each element. We also have a support element that will have a senior non-commissioned officer, Special Forces medic, who is responsible for the evac and anything that those 2 medics cannot handle. He'll be the one that will be directly interfacing with the hospitals.
So we know now by this admission that they will be ready for any casualties that arise from the event, and that local law enforcement will be conditioned to interface with the DoD. Namid stated that some of the soldiers will in large part be undetectable, despite one specific item of clothing.
The first brown shirts with their swastika armbands stride arrogantly into the meeting.
That, for us, that's one of the big things. We make sure that all of our guys have some type of marking that they'll all be wearing an armband with a marking that identifies them as part of the exercise. And if we have role players, for example, a landowner or a business owner who is participating in the exercise, we'll ensure that they have marking as well, that they're part of the exercise.
So there you have it. In a nutshell, U.S. military coordinating with local law enforcement and elements of the willing public. They'll be conducting clandestine activities, carrying weapons under aircraft cover at night, wearing armbands with a special insignia for 2 months across 10 states. This is by far the greatest public conditioning exercise in American history. This, as the world watches Cheyenne Mountain reopening in anticipation of an EMP attack and key operations of the New York Federal Reserve moving to Chicago in the event of a natural disaster.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Now, the event that is truly on the horizon is anyone's guess. However, one thing is for sure. Troops will be ready and trained to take over your town when it happens.
Well, this is Tom for ResurrectTheRepublic.com, and thank you to Gary Franchi. His link to his full video will be in the description, along with the Jade Helm documents, U.S. Stability Police Force for the 21st Century Policing. All those documents will be at ResurrectTheRepublic.com and in the description. Thanks for tuning in. Tom Lacabera-Stewart, ResurrectTheRepublic.com.
To give them a heads up. Also, if you see something, say something.
Yes.
Post your observations in the comment section below so we can maintain a crowdsourced record from the people, by the people.
Excellent idea.
For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi, and as always, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. That's how we grow.
RTR Truth Media on YouTube. www.resurrecttherepublic.com is on radio, 2 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.
Which led to controversy regarding its legitimacy. MKUltra involved the pioneering of many methodologies to manipulate individuals' mental states and alter brain functions, including the surreptitious administration of psychoactive drugs and other chemicals, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse.
He had been given 10 boxes of CIA information on a freedom of information. It's never stopped.
Sun Tzu, within the works of The Art of War, talk about the fact that if you can understand your enemy so well to the level of where you can psych him out, basically defeat him before you put one boot on the battlefield, you've become a true master of your domain, a true master of your domain, a true master of your domain.
Now my statement is, I've been a Green Beret for the last 26 years with 10 Special Forces. I do know the USAC commander and the USAC commander very well. 3 Sergeant Charles Cleveland and a 2-star Darcy Rogers. And I'm here to tell you, from my experience in combat with them, these 2 men cannot be trusted. When they tell you something, you with a grain of salt. And when you go back to Fort Bragg and you debrief, you let Charles know, my name is Keith Helm. He'll remember because he knows exactly what he did and he knows I know. And I will do everything in my power to let this community know these 2 men cannot be trusted. Now my statement is, I've been a Green Beret for the last 26 years with 10 Special Forces. I do know the USAC commander and the USAC commander very well. 3 Sergeant Charles Cleveland and a 2-star Darcy Rogers. And I'm here to tell you, from my experience in combat with them, these 2 men cannot be trusted. When they tell you something, you take it with a grain of salt. And when you go back to Fort Bragg and you do your debrief, you let Charles Cleveland know, my name is Keith Helm. He'll remember because he knows exactly what he did and he knows I know. And I will do everything in my power to let this community know these 2 men cannot be trusted. Thank you, Mr. Hogan.
Thanks to InfoWars, Sergeant Biggs, and here are the individuals involved with mastering the human domain. They are all biometric specialists. All biometrics. Mastering the Human Domain, written by Rand Corporation. All of this is fused together. Agenda 21, Delphi Technique, Rand Corporation, Carnegie Endowment, Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, the Frankfurt School. This is communism, collectivism, and corporate fascism all together rising. Ugh. Wake up, America.
Don't give me the conspiracy bullshit. Come on, you're a more intelligent man than that.
You've heard of Jade Helm, so I ask you, with all the law enforcement available in the United States, who the DHS is preparing to declare war on inside the United States. Admittedly, it is very difficult for regular Joes to stand at the ready to confront a shitstorm coming their way. After all, it is hard enough to juggle one's daily commitments. Who has the time and energy to stand to at the ready? Agreed? But that doesn't mean that certain preparation should be made for what lies ahead. In this regard, all you need to know is that America's security arms are up to no good. So be aware and stay alert. Here it is. Now, most well-informed folks realize that a leadership's core plans, both on the domestic and foreign fronts, are subject to fluid timeline revisions, also known as tweaks. So, this is the case when situations on the ground warrant temporary postponement. However, this should never be mistaken for a volte-face. Rather, it should be viewed as a rejiggering, so to speak. In line with the above considerations, you should internalize a recent commentary and attendant updates on regarding upcoming special ops exercises within the entire Southwest. Note to all, the Southwest has been expanded to include the Mid-South as well, and for that matter, as far as Florida. Said military exercises have left more than a few alarmed at its unprecedented scope, and the very fact that a highly co-opted DHS is in the mix, in tandem with the purging of the top patriotic spears of the military. And we've talked about that, how some of the top flag officers have been run out for not towing the political line. They've been forced into retirement or fired. Well, is it good enough reason for patriots to be on hyper alert? Rest assured, said removals were precursors to future plans, and these plans are coming to fruition sooner than later. Most significantly, it has never been the case, at least up until Obama catapulted into the White House, that mostly retired military officers issued warnings against a sitting administration. Not only are said missives unprecedented, but they decidedly place a target on the backs of those issuing them. Regardless, they refuse to stay silent, and for that we should all give them a mega thumbs up and attendant support come what may. Now, we've all heard the story, 450 million hollow point bullets. What's that all about then, if this is what's going on? So, inclusive in this growing list of non-compliant, that is retired, officers is Terry M. Hestelow, a retired Army officer with nearly 30 years of service under his belt, as well as combat experience in both Vietnam and Afghanistan, issued a dire warning to all Americans. The following warning was posted on Hestelow's Facebook page. And Hestelow writes, I fully intend to address this in far greater detail within days, but ask yourself, with all the law enforcement available in the United States, who is the DHS preparing to declare war on inside the United States? With the massive purchase of almost 3,000 new armored vehicles, MRAPs, and 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition with associated weapons, who in the U.S. do they intend to kill? The short answer is probably you and me. Anyone they think is standing in their way to impose a new Marxist government, anyone who stands for the U.S. Constitution. We must demand our representatives stand firm and immediately force, by law if necessary, the DHS to turn over their arsenal of war-making equipment to the Department of Defense. Nothing justifies this massive arms buildup of an agency whose jurisdiction is internal within the United States of America. So therefore, they are preparing to go to war against American citizens. But don't become distracted before you delve into Jade Helm, simply by jumping to the mentally comforting conclusion that such drills are part of the homeland training exercises. That's a bold-faced lie. But what is the truth is that Chinese and Russian, with a smattering of Eastern Euro Forces troops, have been embedded within the U.S. territory for a few years at the behest of the traitor-in-chief. Mind you, they are not training to protect patriots, guaranteed. Now, the promised Jade update and its frightening calculus as it ties together the heretofore inexplicable and unprecedented target of patriots. Now, Jade Helm 15 is not a 7-state operation as first advertised. This is a massive lie. 7 states? Then we discover a massive extraction of dissidents drill in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the drill has expanded to 9 states. This was yet another lie. And why would it be necessary to use the military to extract, quote-unquote, American citizens? Now, according to, starting on July 15th, 2015, the Hester has received multiple communications from Michigan regarding the call-up of National Guard to active duty status, the start of Jade Helm, which is July 15th, 2015. Now, here are some I guess I want to call it email notes that they're talking about. You decide what it's worth. I'm putting it out there. Hi, Dave. I spoke to a National Guard member brother today who was in the same platoon. He says the 2-month-long training is for the use of what he called strikers, which he says is similar to a tank, but is completely sealed from the outside and is capable of being used in chemical and radioactive situations, as well as being outfitted with a 50-caliber machine gun. Dear Dave, my cousin is in the Michigan National Guard. He is being called to active duty on July 15th. Doesn't that correspond to the formal beginning of Jade 15? He said that the drill are ongoing to take place in northern Michigan, and it involves the relocation of large populations from imminent danger. Dave, my neighbor told me that he would be willing to drill in some disaster. He told me he will be drilling in some disaster drill for the Michigan National Guard this summer on July 15th. I would bet that his part of Jade Helm. He is an operations officer and said that one thing was very curious. They were told to be prepared to work with foreign troops from several countries. He also said that a UN observer will be assigned to each unit. Now this comes from who Dave is coming from thecommonsenseshow.com. Thecommonsenseshow.com. So if you want to read it, it's there. So when someone is caught massively and repeatedly lying about something, isn't it usually done to conceal a dark truth? Jade Helm 15 is clearly a national extraction and martial law drill. It is not in 7 states or 9 states. This drill is a national drill. Indeed, more than enough evidence is being gathered that Jade Helm is a prep for martial law whenever the order is given. If you can withstand it, read this message. Okay. This is also from thecommonsenseshow.com. If you want to read about it yourself, www.thecommonsenseshow.com. You'll see it. It's a FEMA leaked document, FM 3-39.401-5. Okay. It says, this starts off with Dave. Good evening, Dave. I am a former USMC staff sergeant that served at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina with the 1st Battalion, 8th Marines. All of the training exercises you've been talking about are all true. I have personally participated in them in Virginia at Fort Pickett and at Camp Lejeune. Camp Lejeune constructed a multi-million-dollar training facility deep inside the artillery and heavy weapons firing K ranges. Attached are PDF files that I have from training exercises that shows the layout of the facility and the future expansion plans for the Mount facility. We were told this was supposed to be in Iraq or Afghanistan, but it sure looks like hometown USA to me. It has a complete underground sewer system and many multi-story buildings made of Western-style building materials, not half-shoddy construction to save money or time, or Middle Eastern style. It's a replica of a small Western-style town. I'd say American since the signs were in English. How many Arabic Middle Eastern towns in Iraq or Afghanistan have a Baptist church and an American high school in them? They've been training foreign troops at this facility and the federal and local law enforcement as well. While I was at Camp Lejeune, I personally saw and talked to many UN, NATO troops, and DHS. I have additional material if you're interested in the training guidelines that the military is training the police and DHS with under DoD Directive 302521. That's DoD Directive 302521. 302521. Okay. If it looks like a duck, know that, but this site warned about DHS's FEMA co-option from the get-go. No shock on this, not a pretty picture. Now, conclusively, many readers know that domestic terrorist miseducator Billy Boy Eilers opined about re-educating millions of Americans in FEMA-type camps and killing all those who refused to learn their lessons. Their long-term goal, however, was to cause the collapse of the United States and to create, in its stead, a new communist society over which they themselves would rule. With regard to those Americans who might refuse to embrace communism, Ayers and his comrades, including Bernardine Dorn, Mark Rudd, Linda Evans, Jeff Jones, bloggers note, yes, that Jeff Jones, who worked on Obama's Green Jobs Czar, and numerous others, proposed that such resistors should be sent to re-education camps and killed. The terrorists estimated that this would be necessary to eliminate some 25 million people in this fashion so as to advance the revolution. In his 2001 memoir, The Fugitive Days, Ayers recounts his life in the 60s, radical, and boasts that he participated in the bombings of New York City PD in 1970, of the Capitol building in 71, and the Pentagon in 72. And this article continues on. So, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is this. If you're a patriot, on July 15th, start looking for interesting things. For you Watchmen of America out there, I would get your sentinels ready. Get out there and start looking. Get your cameras. You're going to need to take pictures.
Hi, I'm Buck, your personal tour guide to the Federal Reserve. I'm here to introduce you to one of the most complex but effective institutions in the United States. But don't worry, I'll explain it all in plain English. Just beside me is a road map of where we're going. Together, we'll walk through the Federal Reserve System, literally. And along the way, I'll show you just what goes on around here and why it's important. By the end of this tour, you too will be able to explain the Federal Reserve in plain English.
There is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
Okay, so when you hear financial reset, you think about it as a shutdown and a restart. Artificial fixes have been used to delay the inevitable coming financial reset. The longer the reset is delayed, the bigger it will be. So what do you think? This is from the SHTFplan.com. SHTFplan.com. This is their story, their article, posted April 7th, 2015. There's an unprecedented reset coming to world financial markets, and if you've been paying attention, it's impossible to ignore the signs. In fact, mega investment funds and governments and central banks have been secretly buying up and storing physical gold in anticipation of an event that will leave the U.S. dollar effectively worthless, and governments around the world angling for a new global currency mechanism. According to mining executive Keith Neumeyer, but before the reset can happen, Neumeyer, who recently founded First Mining Finance and has partnered with billionaire alternative asset investors like Eric Sprott and Rick Rule, says that foreign creditors must first deleverage their U.S. dollar debt, a move that is happening right now and is evidenced by the recent strength of the U.S. dollar. Once these U.S. debt holders unwind their positions, however, the dollar will be allowed to crash, and we should be prepared for a total financial, economic, and monetary realignment. If you want to read more, go to prepperchimp.com. They also ran it. It's prepperchimp.com. A global financial reset is coming, and a deal is being made between all the central banks. That's where you'll find it.